You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a successful motivational speaker and trusted life coach, Nancy knows how you can live the life you want regardless of the challenges you face. Although she's legally blind, Nancy's mission is to inspire others to overcome obstacles and live life full out. Call in at 800-333-0001 to ask Nancy for advice on topics such as relationships, finances, business, health, and more. Just call 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and today we're going to be talking about purpose. How do we find our purpose in life? How do we recognize when there's already a purpose just within us, just ready to be bursted out of our body? How do we tap into that? We're also going to be taking your calls. Again, that number is 800-333-0001. We want to help you find your purpose, recognize that purpose, and live it full out each and every day. We're also going to be joined by our inspirational guest, Sarah Gray, in our next segment. She's going to be talking about when she had her identical twins. Unfortunately, one passed away, the other lived. But one went on to have a very purposeful life despite a very short life, and she'll share with us that story. And also, if you want to hear today's show again, we want you to come back and listen over and over again so you can get motivated every day. Go to livingfullout.com, click on the radio show tab. All of our episodes will be waiting there for you. Also, we want to hear from you. So if you're inspired by today's show, or if you have questions or concerns, reach out to us because we're here to support you, on your path of living full out. And you might also have an inspirational story yourself, one that you'd like to share with our community. If that's true, go ahead and email us at connect@livingfullout.com. Again, that's connect@livingfullout.com. Now, again, we're talking about purpose today. So everyone who is looking to get rejuvenated and get centered on what their purpose is in their life, this is the time for you to call in and for us to talk it out. So when I think of my purpose, I didn't know it early on. We don't know it until life kind of washes over us. But I've developed over time a way to talk to friends, talk to family, keep a journal of my own life, my fears, my hopes, my dreams. And that shaped my purpose into helping you, being here and serving you every weekend. I want to go ahead now and go to the phone lines. Our producer is saying that we do have a caller on the line, and we can say hello to them. Hi, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hey,
Hi, welcome. Hi, thank you for calling. How can we help you today?
Yeah. I was just calling in because I'm trying to, grow more as a person, kind of just find my purpose in life. But my question is, how do you go about moving on from, toxic relationships and avoiding, making the same mistakes in the future?
Well, actually, the first step, you're doing it right now. Because the first step is to acknowledge it, right? And so what you might want to think about, and journaling would be great for this, look at these relationships. Maybe it's one, maybe it's more than one that's toxic. And put down the action that is toxic, and also consider how it made you feel. And then you want to kind of put together those sort of lists, and then know that you need to stay away from those relationships. Also, what you might want to consider is thinking about what do you want in the future, not in terms of a relationship, but what do you want for your life? What makes you happy? What lights you up inside? That's how you find your purpose. When you are centered in your life with what brings you joy, then everything else will radiate. The right job will come your way. The right relationships will come your way. The health issues, concerns, or fears you may have will start to slowly go away or disappear. But it all starts with you. What is one thing that if you could just do it every day, you would? What is that?
You said one thing that I wish I could do every day.
One thing.
Probably paint.
Paint?
Yes.
Great. And what do you paint?
What depends. I like to draw and paint certain things, and I also like to do arts and crafts projects where I like paint, customize shoes and whatnot.
I love it. I love it. So imagine how the action of doing that brings you joy, taps into your creative side. But think about all the ways in which you could take that talent and bring joy and happiness to other people. Think about maybe you could, paint pictures of somebody's house that they grew up in a long time ago when they were a child, and they could have that picture and always remember those good memories. Maybe you could paint pictures of people, again, so people can relish and cherish in the memories of a certain person, whether they're still living or not. Maybe you can create things or even teach people how to paint or create things. That's how you bring purpose into your life. You don't even have to struggle at it. It's just already within you. Do you see that?
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, absolutely. And then beyond that, who knows? There could be a career opportunity related to that hobby. There could be other people that you could develop relationships with that get that hobby. And then from there, boom, you're living a life full of purpose. Okay? But thank you so much for calling in.
Oh, no, thank you for your insight. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye. So, again, I love that he asked that question because we all today can think of one thing that brings us joy, and we can just work at that one thing and take it all the way. Now, I'm getting another word from our producer that we have a caller, so we'll go say hello to them. Hi, welcome to Living Full Out Show.
Hi. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for calling in. How can we help you?
But I have like a question on I guess advice for like college, because I'm going to be a senior, so like how to balance like social life and like work type of thing.
So what is your question?
I guess like what's like do you have like any I guess like advice on how to balance, like, because I'm doing clubs and sports, and like sometimes being social can like take away, or sorry, more like school and I guess like social life, like how to balance that.
Got it. And that is a big balance, right? And also, what about you? What about your personal time, right? You want that. So here's the thing. Right. I'm a big believer in scheduling. Some people are like, ugh, yuck, schedule. Who wants a schedule? But I'm telling you, when you kind of schedule things out, it frees your mind from forgetting. Have you ever felt like, oh gosh, I don't want to forget that. I don't want to forget that, right? You're kind of like bound to that worry. When you schedule something, you're free from that. Also, when you schedule things, you can put in that personal time to sleep, to work out, to spend time with friends, to read. Just little time, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Also, when you schedule things, now you're not putting off that social life that you want, but you're putting it in at times that works for you. And so I believe that scheduling is a great way to go. Also, what you might want to consider is just looking at your life and evaluating, are all these things I've committed to, or these things that I'm maybe saying yes to, are they something that really lights me up inside? We're talking today a lot about purpose. And so when you're living on purpose, it means that when you're doing things, you're doing them with intention. And you're doing them with passion. So like when you go to school, you're doing that with intention of getting a certain degree to get a certain job. When you're hanging out with a friend and you're doing something social, what is the intention of that? What is the outcome? Is it that you want to spend quality time with a person? Well, going to that certain social function, are you going to get that quality time? If it's a movie, neither of you are talking to each other, right? If it's a loud party, you might not be able to talk to each other. So you got to figure out when you spend your time in different ways, is that maximizing that potential of that event, of that activity? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you hold to those two things, I promise you, you will be A-okay. And personally, most successful people are busy. So it's okay to be busy. Just make sure you get some time in there for yourself, to sleep, to eat the right things, to hang out with friends, and so forth. But thank you so much for calling in.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, have a great day. So what a great question, everybody who's calling in today. It's really about recognizing, what do we need to do? How do we get the clutter out of our life? How do we get the toxic relationships out of our life? How do we find our focus so we can live a life of purpose? The great thing is, when you are living on purpose, you will know it because you're not even having to try. It's almost like that job, that job. It's something that you enjoy so much, time passes by, you can't even believe you're getting paid for it. And it's the same thing like when you're with somebody, let's say it's a romantic partner, and it's just so easy. You don't fight, you don't argue too often. Everybody's going to at time to time. But you know that it's a purposeful relationship because it's just easy. It flows. So consider in your life, and over this next hour here, consider, where are you going upstream in your life? Where are you fighting the tides? And where are you flowing with the water? Where do you feel like you're so happy you can't even believe it? That's the space we want to make sure that you're in every day. So when we come back, we're going to be joined by our inspirational guest, Sarah Gray. She's going to be talking to us about the loss of one of her twins, but how she took that loss and made it full of purpose for her and her family. We'll be right back. This is the Living Full Out Show. I'm Nancy Solari. Stay tuned.
Dad, this is fun. I didn't think I'd like kayaking.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I think it's time to head back in.
Okay. Can we come back?
Sure.
Tomorrow?
Let's check with Mom. Hey, be careful getting out of the boat.
It's a kayak, Dad.
I'm going to return the kayak. Just make sure you have everything.
Yep. Can we walk home?
How about a taxi? 233 North Maple, please.
It's a short fare from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood.
Best day ever.
A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Don't you wish that getting your child to eat right, move more, and spend less time in front of a screen could be as easy as pushing a button? It might not be that simple, but you do have more power than you know. And you can maximize that power with proven strategies, tips, and tools from the National Institutes of Health's We Can, or Ways to Enhance Children's Activity and Nutrition program. We Can offers all kinds of resources, including fun recipes and activities the family can do together to show you the way to live a healthier lifestyle. We're not saying it's easy. We are saying that it can be done. Take the first step today. Call 1-866-359-3226 for a free We Can Parents Handbook. And be sure to visit the We Can website at wecan.nhlbi.nih.gov for free information too. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Today, my new dad and I shot off a rocket in the park.
Today, my new son and I failed to shoot off a rocket.
He knew exactly what to do.
It's not what I had no clue what I was doing.
We set up the rocket.
Hit ignition.
And then
nothing. Ha 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 ha. Sometimes I laugh when I'm frustrated.
Then out of nowhere, the rocket launched into the air.
The rocket did get into the air.
I've never seen anything fly so high.
And then crashed into a kite. Look out! Look out! And then the pond.
I'll never forget that day.
I'll never forget that day, even if I tried.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. A professional motivational speaker, Nancy can help you overcome obstacles and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello and welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and today we're talking about purpose. How we can bring purpose into our life, how we can identify it and really make it flourish. But how do you find that purpose? Sometimes it's not always recognizable, and sometimes the purpose for our life comes from other people. Sometimes it comes from experiences that we have. So I always say, be an open book. Be just ready for life to wash over you, because you never know when that purpose is going to come. And we can all get multiple purposes in our life. It's not just that we have one purpose. Sometimes we can have purpose at different stages in our life. But it's just recognizing that and being open. I see a lot of times when clients are fixated on, I must do something, I have to do something to feel a sense of accomplishment. But when they open up their arms, when they allow themselves to be free and open to what's possible, now they can let that purpose just come into their life in a natural way. Now, our inspirational guest today, Sarah Gray, is a perfect example of that. She actually had twins, and one of them went on and survived and is living a great life. The other one, unfortunately, passed away. But she didn't take his life and have it be for nothing. She made a purpose out of it in a big way. His life has gone on to be in many research studies and has really given back to others. And that is truly special. So I'd very much like to welcome Sarah to the show. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Nancy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Sarah, could you do us a favor? Take our audience back a bit to when you were obviously pregnant with these twins, so excited with them coming into the world. You were in your first trimester. But share with us about the day that you got the news about the health of the twins.
Sure. Well, my husband and I went into the second sonogram, which is called the first trimester screening. And I think I was 12 weeks along, and they essentially look for some birth defects. I think the most common one is Down syndrome. And my husband and I were, we read up on it, and we felt reasonably prepared, and we knew that there was a chance that we could have a child with a birth defect. I was 35 at the time, so there's a higher risk when you're older. But, we were hoping for the best, and so we went in to do the sonogram, and the doctor said that even though the twins were identical, one of them was healthy, but one of them had a fatal birth defect called anencephaly. And he explained that means that the twins' skull was not formed correctly, and he only had half of a brain. Mm-hmm. And because of this birth defect, he would likely die shortly after being born, or maybe even before.
Well, and I know, Sarah, this is still fresh for you because it's only been 7 years? So it's
been 7 years. Mm-hmm.
Pretty new. And I can only imagine, being given that news. It's just earth-shaking, really. How did you move forward in terms of the decisions that you had to make?
Well, the doctor explained to us that because the twins shared a placenta, that we couldn't do a selective termination on one of them. And he also explained, and then when we saw a specialist later on, they explained that we could do a selective termination, but and that maybe we should, or we might want to think about that, because the twin that had the fatal birth defect, if he died in utero, and the twins shared some blood vessels, that the death of the one twin would change the blood pressure of the other twin and could possibly threaten the life of the healthy twin. So it was very stressful.
So many decisions. What did you ultimately decide to do?
We ultimately decided to go for the selective termination in order to protect the life of our healthy twin. Essentially, we had one of our kids was threatening the life of one of our other kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really, really difficult to make this decision. Obviously, we loved both of them. And we wanted to give the one that was healthy the best chance of survival, since we knew that the other one really didn't have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
We went in for the selective termination, and we learned that my placenta had since moved positions and was now sort of covering the babies. And the doctor said that he didn't recommend the procedure anymore because if he even accidentally nicked the placenta, I could bleed uncontrollably, and all of us would die.
Wow.
So it was kind of a relief because we really didn't want to do that anyway. We just felt that we had to. So we went through the rest of the pregnancy just with the, it's kind of like a nail biter, just thinking we hope this turns out okay. Anything could happen.
Well, that's putting a lot of faith in just how it's going to roll out, how it's going to be. And on that day, what day were the twins born?
March 23rd, 2010.
Okay. And on that day, 2 were born. 2 came into the world. And what were their names?
Oh, yes. Thomas was born first. He's the one with anencephaly. And Callum was the second one. He was born a minute later.
I love it.
The healthy one.
I love it. And so we're going to have to go to a commercial break here in a second, Sarah, so I want to kind of come back to your story. But I want everybody to soak up just really what Sarah had to go through, all of these decisions, the fear and everything. And then finally this day comes and 2 babies were born. And so I want to take that moment to really acknowledge that, because her story goes on to be very special and purposeful and everything I promised. So Sarah, will you stay with us as we
Sure.
go into the segment here?
Sure.
Now, coming back after the segment, we will be talking to Sarah and sharing her story a little bit further. One of the things, real quick, Sarah, that I want to ask you, as you can think about this coming back into the segment, is just understanding a little bit more about your process, coming out, having these babies, how special that was. So again, we'll be coming right back after this break, and we'll be back.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari.
There are many sounds in your day-to-day life. There are sounds that wake you up. Sounds that make you smile. Sounds that energize you. And sounds that help you relax. But there are some sounds that can alert you to danger and can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you information about severe weather events, Amber Alerts, or other emergencies in your area. With critical information from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know, wherever you are. For more information, visit ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. With millions of YouTube views, shares, Instagram likes, followers, and fans across the globe. But what do all these amazing pets have in common? Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a shelter or adoptable pets near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard? Well, that's entirely up to you. Visit theshelterpetproject.org and hear more about Hamilton the Pug, Toast, and Keyboard Cat's amazing adoption stories. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Your perfect pet is just a click away at theshelterpetproject.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
What if I could tell you that a full-blown wildfire was going to occur tomorrow right where you live? Tell you exactly which neighborhoods it would engulf and how fast it would do it. The first thing you would do is talk with your loved ones and make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a wildfire will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you make a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a trusted life coach, Nancy will help you overcome setbacks and embrace all life has to offer. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us today. I am Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about purpose, and we're being joined by our inspirational guest today, Sarah Gray, who is sharing with us about her story of how she had 2 twins that were born. They're both born healthy. However, one unfortunately died 6 days later. And she's sharing with us about how she took her son's life, his name was Thomas, and made it full of purpose. And I'd like to bring Sarah back into the show. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi. And you know what? I just can't help but saying Thomas's name because personally, when you share with our audience what you did in the memory of Thomas, it affects all of us. And that's why I want to keep giving him a lot of kudos because he's such a good man, good little man. So share with us our audience. So the day came when both of the twins were born. Now, I know you had your own set of complications amongst, Callum. He had some early birth complications as well. And then all of a sudden, Thomas, he's born alive. So share with us where everybody went and what happened.
Sure. So I went in for a C-section, and Thomas came out first, and then Callum came out a minute later. There was a chaplain in the room that we had requested to say a blessing over Thomas because we didn't think he was going to make it very long. So the chaplain was holding Thomas and saying some prayers, and my husband was there too, Ross. And then when Callum was born, he was having problems breathing. And they were, slapping his feet and giving him oxygen, and then they ended up rushing him to the NICU because they were concerned that he wasn't able to breathe and he, may have brain damage. And at the same time, I had lost half my blood volume and was getting a transfusion. And I want to give a shout out to the 12 people who donated blood that I received. There are 12 strangers out there who gave their blood to me, and they saved my life.
We're doing a lot of shout outs today. You feel free. Keep doing it. Yep. Keep
Anyone
going.
who's ever given blood, I just thank you so much.
Absolutely. So go ahead. Continue on.
Oh, no. So I went to the recovery room, and that's when my husband showed up, and he was holding a little bundle. And I just assumed it was Callum because I thought Thomas would have died by then.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Who is that?" And he said, "It's Thomas." And I said, "Oh, he's still alive. Let me hold him." And so I just felt like a bonus. I was like, wow, every minute we got with him, I just thought this is, this is more than I expected. And I was grateful to have any extra minutes that we had. So I was able to breastfeed him. Yeah. And he just acted like a normal baby.
See, I love that. I love that. And honestly, I think that was, just the way it was supposed to go, that, he was supposed to have those few days with you. Now, he did pass 6 days later, right? And
yes.
That's really where this second half of the journey began. But now, you decided to donate certain organs of his, but you started that process way back when you were pregnant with the twins, before they were ever born. What was kind of the process between when you were starting to think about it, before the twins were born, to executing that plan after he had passed?
Sure. Well, it started out as just a thought, and I contacted my local organ procurement organization. So wherever you live in the United States, there is an organ procurement organization designated to you, and in other countries. I believe that other countries have these as well. But I contacted mine. It's called Washington Regional Transplant Community here in Washington, D.C. And they explained that that my son would probably be too small at birth to donate his organs for transplant, because they have to match the donor and the recipient, the size of the organs. And they said, he's probably going to be born early. He's a twin. He's probably only going to be like 4 or 5 pounds when he's born. There's just not a demand and there's no match for these kind of organs.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, can we donate to anything else? Is there, do people want to study the disease he has, or can we donate to any kind of research? And they looked into it, and they basically have a database where researchers will log in and register the kind of tissue that they need to study.
Mm-hmm.
And, they might need diseased tissue. They might need healthy tissue to compare against it. They need different sizes, different genders, different diseases.
Mm-hmm.
And so WRTC told me that they had to wait until after my son died. And then once he died, they would be able to see what condition the organs and everything was in. And that at that point, they would be able to match his organs and tissues with researchers who might need them. So I signed all the consent forms.
Early on. Okay. And after
we did everything in advance.
Right. And after he passed, what did you find out that they were able to donate?
He was able to donate his cornea, that's the front of the eye, the retina, that's the back of the eye, his liver, and his cord blood. So 4 things.
That is awesome. That's amazing. And the interesting thing is, everybody listening, is you were able to have even an open casket funeral afterwards. They were able to take what they needed in terms of those donations and that next journey, but then you were able to bring him back and see him one more time.
Yeah, I'd had no experience in this area before, and I was really curious. And it happened so fast, I almost was like, did that really happen? Because he looks exactly the same. I mean, they had dressed him. He had a little onesie on, so I didn't unzip it to look for stitches or whatever. But I've since learned that when they do an organ recovery, you can do an open casket funeral, and I know that that's really important for a lot of families. Some people really feel like they need to see their loved one last time, or to be able to accept the death. But it's just like any other kind of surgery. You get stitches, and I thought he looked great. Yeah, I was surprised that they had done anything.
That's so beautiful. That's just just neat that, again, you had that moment when he was alive, those extra days together, and now you got to see him one more time. And then, after, some time had passed, you decided, gosh, I'd really like to know, what happened? Where did his donations go, and how did that research turn out? So how did you start that new path?
Well, again, I was new to this, and I just thought that whatever researchers have registered for the tissue and wanted it, I thought, I bet they're really experienced. They probably have PhDs or doctorates, and they are probably, if you asked them what they do for a living, they would probably talk your ear off. So I asked WRTC, I said, when a year was up, I said, can you give us an update? What has happened with the tissue? Did the researcher tell you anything? Have they used the tissue? Are they studying it? Or is it just still sitting on the shelf? And WRTC, they just didn't know. They said, all we know is that it's been received, and we don't really hear back from researchers. So I just thought, okay, well, I tried. I did my best, and I learned that his corneas went to Harvard. So I felt kind of proud that, my son got into Harvard, and his retinas went to Penn, and my grandfather went to Penn. So I just I felt a connection with these facilities.
Sure.
That was nice. But then it was a year later.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
A year later, I went to Boston on a business trip.
Mm-hmm.
And I had remembered that, Harvard's in Boston and my son's corneas are in Boston. And I thought, and I Googled it and I looked up how far away the eye research lab was from the Heinz Convention Center where I was working at a conference. And it was not very far away. And I thought, what if I just called a front desk? Could I ask them for a tour? Because you think, just as a member of the public or, someone who donates a financial donation, I would get invited to a tour or,
sure,
put on their mailing list or whatever. And I thought, I wonder, are they going to want to keep me out because my family donated corneas, or would they welcome me?
I can see wondering that. Yep.
I was nervous, but I thought I'll give it a try because I may never have this chance again. I'm not in Boston very often.
Mm-hmm.
So I called the front desk, and the receptionist said that she had never had a call like that before. But she said, don't hang up. I'm going to find someone to help you. And she did. And I was able to set up a tour for the next day.
Great. And so what did you learn on that tour about Thomas?
It was incredible. So I was able to meet the researcher who requests the corneas and receives them.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him, and I was so moved by meeting him because I thought, this is the person that's behind my son's donation. And he said, thank you for the donation. Do you have any questions for me? And I said, yes. How many corneas do you request in a year? Is it like 1 or 2, or is it 100? Or how valuable was my son's donation? And he said, we request about 10 pairs a year. We would request more if we could, but they're hard to get. And infant corneas are even more valuable. They're like gold to us. And I was so moved by that. And I said, why? And he said, because they're regenerative properties. Infant cells regenerate more than adult cells. And most of the corneas that he receives are from older people, just because naturally most of us are older when we die.
Mm-hmm.
So when they get the infant cells, he said they regenerate for a long time, and they can study them on more than one experiment. So the interest. Well, so I was going to say, because we're kind of closing up here the interview a little bit, so I want to kind of speed ahead just a bit. So the great thing is you got to, talk to that researcher, that doctor in Boston, and you got to go to all the other facilities as well, and just kind of really feel more connected to all of these institutions that, Thomas's donations went to. And I know you went on to write a book. And what was the name of that book? It's called A Life Everlasting, The Extraordinary Story of One Boy's Gift to Medical Science. And see, I love that. And when we consider our topic today being purpose, obviously you still have Callum today, and he's growing and thriving. Thomas went to the Ivy League schools in a different way with his donations. How has your life become more purposeful, giving birth to those two twins with those two very different experiences? When it comes to purpose, I guess it's opened me up to purposes that I didn't know were there. And it's made me feel like I don't just have one purpose, but there's a variety, and it changes as I grow. Mm-hmm. And it added a few layers of meaning to Thomas's life. I mean, he would have had meaning no matter what happened donation-wise. But it allowed us to connect with some really wonderful, kind researchers that we would have never met any other way. Absolutely. And if people are listening today and when they're taking in your story, what's one word of advice or one phrase of advice that you would tell them in finding their purpose? Finding their purpose. I don't know. That's a tricky one. Can I get a different one? Can I just say? No. But that's okay. That's okay. You. That's your homework assignment to think about. But I want to thank you so much, Sarah, for being on our show today, because you are a gift to our world, honestly. And thank you for Thomas and Callum and all the contributions they make. And everybody, I want to thank Sarah for being on the show. So thank you very much. And when we come back, we're going to be taking your calls again. This is the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and we will be right back.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
The following message is about Medicaid and CHIP, free or low-cost health coverage for kids and teens. Enrollment is open year-round.
Hey, voice lady, give me the mic.
Okay.
Hey, DJ, let's switch up the music. That's better. So listen up, moms and dads out there. There are these programs called Medicaid and CHIP. They offer free or low-cost health coverage for kids. Things like doctor and dentist visits, prescriptions, and shots are covered. All the stuff that keeps kids like me healthy and in charge.
So, as you can tell, a covered kid is a confident kid. And it means confident parents, too. To learn more about affordable health coverage for your family, visit healthcare.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. That's 1-877-543-7669.
Yep, you could do something big for your family today because enrollment is open year-round.
This has been a message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And Sophia.
They're going to jump out of trees. You can't stop them. They'll go down the slide head first. They'll make parachutes out of sheets. They'll balance on things that are impossible to balance on, like the back of a couch or a windowsill or a scooter seat. They'll run with sharp objects. They'll run into walls. They'll climb things that won't hold their weight. They'll put their fingers in places where they could get smashed. They'll drive their tricycles down steep hills. They'll bounce balls off their faces. They'll step on each other. They'll jump on each other. They'll invent whole new ways to put themselves in jeopardy. But one of the most dangerous things kids will do happens while they're sitting perfectly still. Kids who ride in a car without a booster seat are much more likely to suffer serious or fatal injury during a crash than kids in boosters. But amazingly, 80% of all kids who need them aren't in them. After a toddler seat and until they're 4'9", booster kids, and don't let them down.
Go to boosterseat.gov to learn more about the importance of boosters. A message from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
Hey, Nick Cannon here. So we all know we've got a lot of talent in America. But unfortunately, there's something else we've got way too much of. Childhood hunger. 17 million kids struggle with it in this country. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gather surplus food to give hope to hungry kids and their families. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
We are your pets, and this song's dedicated to those people who don't have health insurance yet. Enroll, we say, we want you to be okay. Enroll, we say, take care of people for goodness sake.
Health insurance is now affordable and covers prescriptions, hospitalizations, and preventive care. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn more.
And take care, people.
Brought to you by Get Covered America and the Ad Council.
When you're in touch with your purpose, you're able to live full out in a big way. You're able to hone in on where your passions are, how you can take those passions and translate them into doing good things for yourself, for others, and making a big impact. And when you're doing that, now you're building a legacy. We all have the ability to live a life of purpose in our journey to live full out.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a certified life coach, Nancy can help you to overcome challenges and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Well, here we are, final segment of the show, and I don't know about you all, but I am feeling like I want to go out there and just do something great today. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to do something. I want to make an impact in somebody's life, and I want to also take my life up a notch, and I'm hoping that you all have that same feeling. But sometimes it's great to have that idea, but sometimes the idea with the passion to execute that idea doesn't always come together. And so sometimes energetically, we struggle with, I don't know my purpose. I have no idea. And I'm just, it's too much energy to even try. I urge you to not give up. Because whether you are staying home today and vegging out, watching TV, whether you have a full-packed day with the kids and work and other commitments you've made, or somewhere in between, you have the ability every day to do something purposeful. It doesn't mean that you start an organization. It doesn't mean that you're building a family. It doesn't mean that you're getting a new career. Purpose doesn't have to always be big. It can just be reaching out to one person and making a difference in their lives. And that's what I want you to think about as we close out the show today. Now, I'm getting word from our producer that we have another caller on the line, so we're going to go say hello to them. Hello, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for calling in. How can we help you today?
Well, I was just trying to figure out maybe some coping tips or something, some kind of recommendation. I'm dealing with a lot of anxiety because I have a health disorder that requires me to be on, prescription contraceptives. Mm-hmm. And, just with the political atmosphere and stuff going on, I was just wondering if you have any kind of tips to kind of deal with that anxiety of worrying about possibly, losing medication. I know politically and stuff like that, not a lot of people can help, but I was wondering if you had any kind of stress tips or anything like that.
Well, thank you for calling in, first of all, because the thing is that's what this show is for. But secondly, have you considered or are you a part of any support groups of other people dealing with your same health challenge?
I am not currently.
Okay. That is step number one. Now, I don't tell you to do that because I think you have all this extra time in your schedule to be going to a bunch of different support groups. And support groups are not even where you sit down and everybody confesses and cries. I think a lot of times people think support groups are heavy. It's not like that. When you're a part of a support group, when you're a part of an organization that specializes in the condition that you're dealing with, they all have the same concerns that you have. Now you're not out there on your own trying to crack the code. You're not out there on your own dealing with the same anxieties that others have. Now, there are going to be times when, and everybody listening today, that we have rare conditions where there aren't support groups. Well, then you want to find next to kin on that. What is the largest organization that would be most closely relatable to your health condition? Now, I'm not going to ask what your health condition is because I want to keep that personal to you. But I urge you to research here over the next couple of days, what your condition is called, all the organizations that deal with that, and then maybe even do another search of support groups along with the name of your condition, and then be able to find other like-minded people that are dealing with what you are. The other thing, too, is depending on where you are in terms of, time, is to get out there and let your voice be heard. Sometimes it takes the person dealing with a condition, dealing with the aftermath of what could be. You're the voice for so many. So when we think of that support group, some people are going to be listeners. Some people are going to be contributors. They're going to contribute to a conversation. And then there's leaders. And those are the people that put their foot down and say, this is what we need. Somebody help us get what we need. Do you think you're going to be that leader, contributor, or listener?
I think I could be the leader.
I think you could be the leader. And we're talking about purpose today. So look at the purpose that your condition has given you. Nothing in our life happens by accident. It's not great. Trust me, I'm blind and I don't love it every day. But even that has given me my purpose, right? So in some ways, you were given this gift of this condition, so that you can go on to make a difference to help others. How does that sound?
Sounds pretty awesome.
I see a legacy being built as we talk. And it's your legacy. So go out there, Just start. Don't make it all happen at one time. It just starts with the initial research. And then you call somebody. You meet with somebody. You go to a group. You tread the waters. And as you're ready to take on more, you take on more. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You got it. Have a great day. And I want to thank everybody listening today. It's all about tapping into that purpose. We all have it. And if you need support on that, reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com. We are here to support you in any way we can. I want to thank the entire Living Full Out team. We have Rich and Elizabeth and Riley and everybody that puts the show on. And most of all, I want to thank you for listening. I wish everybody a great day. Here's to you living your life full out.